Oh, Matt, folks, with me, Phil Too Real. You're watching our Final Fantasy VIII Let's Play first part, and these parts are going to be a bit beefy. Uh, but yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So, Final Fantasy VIII, this is my first RPG I've played in my entire life up until this point. It's just been platformers and that sort of thing, so it's a bit of a special game to me. Uh, but the funny thing that got it, how how I got introduced to is all because of Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut of all things, because way back in the day, Pizza Hut had a promotion where they were giving PlayStation demo discs out for their customers, and one of the games in there happened to be Final Fantasy VIII, along with a few others. I think Metal Gear Solid was on there too. But um, this game was basically my gateway drug into Final Fantasy. Unfortunately, um, I didn't really get to experience Final Fantasy in all its glory all the way from uh, all the way from the NES to the Super Nintendo to now the PlayStation. But um, these parts are going to be rather long. I'm going to try to upload them on the weekends instead. I'm going to leave the main smaller parts, like Turok and the next games that come after Turok during the week. But the weekends, I'm going to try to upload Final Fantasy VIII. We'll see how this goes. If it doesn't go really well, then I'll just change up my upload schedule. But Final Fantasy, I'm going to try to upload on the weekends. Uh, but what can I say? Our main character is not that chick with the super long black hair. That's actually one of the antagonists. But we're going to get visuals of all the main characters in Final Fantasy VIII. But our main character here is going to be Squall in the black outfit, and he's facing off against his rival Cypher in the white. And yeah, so Final Fantasy VIII, Squall in particular, kind of are polarizing characters. I read and in Facebook groups, just stuff like that, YouTube videos, doing commentaries and all that stuff. Mainly because this game is very much a black sheep of the series, mainly because of the gameplay and then just Squall in general, because Squall being Squall. But we're about to witness how Squall gets his facial scar in this game. And then we're also going to witness how Cypher gets his facial scar. I couldn't imagine getting sliced in the face like that. It feels very well, very good. But this FMV, I remember playing this day. I remember seeing it for the first time. I'm like, wow, video games have come a long way. But uh, but yeah, that's the intro for Final Fantasy VIII. And as some people probably already know, the intro screen is not the same as the remastered, and a lot of the character models and backgrounds and all that are not what are on the remastered. This is a modded version of Final Fantasy VIII. So all I'm really using here are visual mods, and that's it. So no game breaking mods whatsoever. So Dr. Kodawaki here is asking our main character Squall how he's doing, and this is where we get to name Squall, or in a lot of my other private game plays, I name him Squawk. So it's going to be a hard habit to break, not call him Squawk. But he's letting Dr. Kodawaki is letting us know who our instructor is. It's Quistis. If I'm mispronouncing Quistis' name, well, sorry, not sorry. That's how I've always pronounced Quistis. And we're going to get a mysterious visitor here that says, Squall, we meet again. And Squall has no idea who this person is, and we won't really see this person for quite some time. But Quistis here is Squall's instructor, uh, and she seems to have a crush on Squall, shall we say. But um, quite the beautiful lady with quite the reputation in the facility that Squall lives in called Balamb Garden or Balamb Garden. I call it Balamb Garden sometimes, but Balamb Garden. Um, as you see here through their interaction, Squall is a little bit of a antisocial person. He doesn't really like to talk. He's a bit of a loner in the first disc of the game. He kind of opens up during the second disc of the game, I find. And but yeah, I will say this about the game that we're going to be playing. The visuals are updated and minus a few hiccups with a certain few sections, and then 2 crashes in this game. The gameplay is awesome. It's superb and all that, and that's only the crashes and the hiccups are only because of the mod. So the remastered game plays perfectly. I just like the extra bells and whistles of the mods that are installed on this version of the game. But we're in the class here, and as I said here, Squall is a student of Balamb Garden, and Squall is on his way to becoming in this garden a elite mercenary called Seed, and Squall needs to pass a entrance exam, shall we say, and that's what we're going to do. And Quistis is going to get onto Cypher about his harsh training methods, about harming other students. As you see there, Cypher's like, what? So yeah, so after this entrance exam of sorts, we're going to go into a field exam. That's what's going to determine where, as well say Sid, Squall will become a Seed. But first off, we're going to access Squall's terminal here, and we're going to go to the tutorial, and we're going to get our first 2 guardian forces of the game, which are going to be Quetzalcoatl and Shiva, or Quetzalcoatl, I guess. But these 2 guardian forces, if you don't get them now, Quistis will give them to you at the beginning of when you exit the garden, because without guardian forces, your characters are really, really weak. And unlike other Final Fantasy games, you only have the attack command if you have no guardian forces. So you need them to become strong and superhuman ultra soldiers. But Quistis is going to tell us that our first objective is going to be in the Fire Cavern. That's where the entrance exam that I'm referring to is at. And so we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of exploration here. And as we go down this hall, we're going to run into a new student who's late, and she's actually going to be a very important character in the story, one of the main 6 party members in the story. And so, if you say, she's going to ask Squall if Squall can show her around, and you really don't have to, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it just for the sake of making Squall a little bit less antisocial. So you could say, sure, don't have any time, and then she will just walk away from Squall and go into the classroom, and that'll be it. But we're going to go ahead and be a good student. So we're going to talk to this guy on the bridge. He's going to give us our first set of triple triad cards, which can be what makes the game extremely broken. So triple triad's a card game, which I'll talk more about it once we get Ifrit's card, sorry. Almost said Ifrit from Tales of series, but we're going to go to the center council there, and Squall will explain to mystery other main character person what each of the sections of the garden are. So you have the dormitory, which is where all the students sleep, and then you have the cafeteria, which is, of course, is where all the students go eat. You have the parking lot, which they keep the vehicles in. You have the quad, which is kind of like the pavilion where they have plays and such, and you have the train center, which is where you have monsters that you can fight and gain experience and get ultra powerful and hopefully not die. The infirmary is where we woke up at, where Dr. Kotowaki's at, and then you have the library, which is where there's a long-term side quest that I'll talk about a little bit once we go there. And you have the front gate, and then up until I think you leave the garden for the long term for the first time, you can access that panel and it will fast travel there. It's a shame that they got rid of it in the second disc of the game. And that thing that I'm interacting with, this is the save point. I'll do my best to edit out saves as much as I can. There are some that I do forget, but this is me using the panel. So I'm going to go to the library, and it's going to quick travel Squall to the library. And One thing about the side quest I was talking about, it involves this girl with pigtails and another main character that'll be a party member. His name is Zell. Um, they have a bit of a thing together. They like each other, but I guess they don't tell each other until the third disc or so. But if you talk to the girl with pigtails in certain specific parts in the game, it'll make a conversation with Zell and her a lot more readable. Otherwise, the conversation's a lot really obscure. But I don't get all the flags, we shall say. So some of the conversation is not going to be readable. But this here is, I'm equipping a Guardian Force already, and I'm going to go ahead and put all my stuff. And now I'm going to forget to use that little draw point that I examined, because draw points have magic, and magic is in a lot of ways the equipment in this game. And if you examine the bookshelf there, you'll get a magazine called Occult Fan #1, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I forgot what the name of it is, but I think it's Occult Fan. I'll talk more about those books later. But going back to magic, magic is very much like an equipment in this game. You don't get any equipment outside your main weapon, and even then you can't buy it. You have to modify it. So magic is going to be your equipment, and in that way you can customize your characters really in depth in this game. In my opinion, this is one of the more in-depth customization mechanics in Final Fantasy, but that's also to its detriment, because a lot of people don't like it because of the system. For one thing, it takes a while to maximize stats, especially if you want to draw magic, which is how you get a lot of the magic in this game initially, is through monsters. Card games help alleviate that, but majority of good magic is obtained. A lot of the high level magic, I should say, is attained by drawing magic, and also just to get magic in general. You have to draw from monsters, which we'll talk about that once we get into the world map. But the cafeteria right here, this is where we're going to run into Raijin, Fujin, and Cypher, who are the disciplinary committee in Garden. And we already met Cypher because, you know, he cut up Squall's face. And Raijin and Fujin are his only friends in Garden. So they're kind of a posse in that sense. They even call themselves a posse, I think, in certain parts of the game. And Raijin's kind of like the muscle, and Fujin's kind of like the brain. Every time Raijin says something stupid, Fujin ends up kicking him in the shin or the leg, whichever or. So you talk to Cypher, you talk to Fujin, they don't really do very much. They just say, hey, what? Or, hey, we're having a meeting. But if you talk to Raijin again, you'll initiate a sequence with a character who's going to run into the cafeteria and going to catch everyone's attention. And this character is never going to get a hot dog in this game until the very end where the credits are. So that's a bit of a running gag. But he runs in and he kind of makes a ruckus and he walks out. But he catches the eye of the disciplinary committee, and this is, I want to say, it's technically not the start of Cypher and that character's relationship. More on that much later down the road. But that person and Cypher do not get along whatsoever. But after all this, you can talk to one of these lunch ladies, cafeteria ladies, and then if you humor her with her conversation, let her talk on and on and on. She will talk about her son, and once they finish this conversation, it kind of like, lack of better words, it puts a flag on the game to where when you meet her son later on in the game, you can reunite them. So you can do that, but there's really no need to. It's just an extra little tidbit in the game. There's no reward in it other than, you know, personal satisfaction. But I'm also going to go here in the back of the cafeteria where the students are. There's one student in particular that you want to make note of. That's the person in the back here, Trep Groupie #1. He has a very good card that we're going to win later, and later on he's going to be my go-to person to farm level 5 cards. 3 very specific level 5 cards that I'll talk about once we start playing card games. But we're going to go ahead. I believe we're going to go to the front gate, and we're going to start our battle proper. So as we walk over there, it's going to take a bit. At least I think we're going to go to the front gate. Excuse me. But as you go through the front gate, the only thing I don't like about the first disc is you do a lot of running through Garden. It's really slow, as you know. We're already about 15 and a half minutes in, and we haven't really done any battling. That tends to be the norm for most Final Fantasy games. 7's the only one. Actually, I think all of them. I'm going through my mind. I think the only one. Yeah, I think 7 and 6 are the 7, 6, 9, yeah, and 10. 10 all jump right into the action. I feel like right away. Maybe not 10, but anyways, enough of that digression. So Quistis here is going to talk about, you know, equipping Guardian forces and all that stuff. And like I said, without them, you don't really have access to any of your abilities. You're very weak. You can't junction magic. So you want to at least equip a Guardian force to both Squall and Quistis. I almost said Squawk there for a second. But you want to equip a Guardian force sim. That way you can equip commands on them. I like to keep attack, draw, Guardian force, and item on my characters majority of the time. Draw mainly because I want to be able to pick up magic from my enemies, and then Guardian force in case I want to do a big attack on them, summon my Guardian force, because Guardian forces are summons in this game. And so if you want to do they're big damage dealers early in the game, and then later on through disc 2 onward, they tend to play a backseat in my gameplay, because most of the time I either just straight up attack or I use magic with my magic casters. But I'd like to keep draw equipped. Like I said, that way I can keep draw magic and get better magics. And then another thing in this game, as you battle, as you level up, the monsters will also get stronger too. And there's 3 categories of levels for the monsters. There's 1 through 10, levels 1 through 10, which is the low level monsters. They have low level magic. They give out low level items. And then you have 11 through 20, which is the mid-level monsters, which have mid-level spells. They drop better items. And then you have levels 30 onward up to 100, and those are the high-level monsters. And those drop very good items generally. They will drop a lot of items that would tend to be good refining items. And have good level magic to farm as well. And then here, this is where I'm setting the abilities for my Guardian forces to learn stuff. Quasicolt, I really should equip card. And then for Shiva, I think I equipped strength on her, strength junction, which is good. But strength junction would be good, or ice magic refine would be good. I'll talk a little bit more about these abilities later, but that's what I would recommend. And this is where the mods would kind of show themselves, with the backgrounds, with Balamb Garden being a lot more sharper, the roads being a little bit more sharper, and the general environment being a little bit sharper. But I'll go ahead and post those mod names in the description for those who are interested. Just names of the mods. You can Google it or YouTube video Final Fantasy VIII mods, and you'll find out how to install them. But I'm not going to go into how to install this. But for battles, what I will do is I'm going to show new formations off, and then show my interactions with them. This first battle will probably take the longest because I'm going to show the draw mechanic. But as you draw magic, if you haven't experienced the magic or seen the magic, it's going to be covered in question marks, so you won't know what it is. But these are bite bugs, and bite bugs have fire magic and scan magic initially. And later on, as they level up, they'll get much higher level fire magic, and to the point where I think they even have flare. I'll leave Future Phil there to leave that in case I'm wrong about them, but I want to say at the higher levels they even have flare. At the very least they have Faraga, but fire magic and scan, you can go ahead and spend all your time drawing fire magic if you want. And if I decide to farm magic, I'm not going to show me drawing all the magic to like 100. I'll just jump cut. And but yeah, fire magic is very useful because, for one thing, it junctions nicely at some of the beginning stats of the game. Real low level magic, but it's better to have some of this magic. And then also when you get the elemental junction ability for your attack and defense, it's very nice to have a lot of these elemental spells equipped to reduce damage or even absorb magic or absorb the damage as HP. But as you see there, I'm just drawing magic, and this is why it takes forever to get 100 spells. And this is what makes a lot of people turned off about Final Fantasy VIII, because the time it takes to grind out these spells. And I want to say Final Fantasy VIII Remastered, there's I'm not entirely sure, but I think there's a way to just cheat, I put in air quotes, cheat to get those spells to 100 really quickly, certain spells anyways. But I don't use that, I just rather just go with the old-fashioned method, because that's just how I am. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grind fire magic off screen, and then I'm going to finish off the bite bug. So you won't see me grind like that ever again, unless it's a battle that I'm just going to go ahead and fight, and I'm going to draw magic for one person. But after you beat an enemy, of course you get experience, you get AP for Guardian Forces to learn abilities. I'm going to go ahead and switch Squall's Occult to Thunder Magic Refine, but once again, I should have the card ability equipped to learn. And then we're going to get into another enemy type here, which I'm going to butcher its name, but the enemy that's on the beach of the initial area of the game where Balamb Garden is located at, I believe they're Fastito Colin F. Fastito Colin. I'll just call it fish. I'll have future Phil maybe display the name here, but they're very nice enemies to encounter because they will have blizzard magic, which is nice, and I want to say they have cure magic, maybe? No, I think they have sleep magic. Sleep magic's their other spell. Yeah, so it's blizzard and sleep that they have. Sleep magic's rather powerful in the early game because I think it junctions very nicely for this point in the game. But then the other reason they're very nice to encounter is when you kill them, they appear in pairs here in Balamb Beach, but they give off 3 AP each. So if you kill a pair, you get 6 AP, which is very nice. That's a rather large amount of AP because most enemies only drop like give you 1 or 2 AP. These drop like 3. So very nice if you want to level up your Guardian Forces abilities. But you also, in my opinion, you don't want to over level your characters because you could also get to a point where, because your levels are really high, the monster levels are going to be really high. So they're going to be hitting you really hard with magic that you might not be prepared for with what Guardian Forces you have. So I generally try not to over level my characters. And then some Guardian Forces learn abilities to where when you level up, they give you +1 to a certain stat, because unfortunately Final Fantasy VIII is one of those games where your characters, actually I think this is one of the few games where if you level up your characters don't get very many stat point boosts. I think the only major stat that goes up is HP, and that's not even that much of an increment. But the next enemy type is a Glacial Eye that we're going to be encountering, and these have Blizzard and Cure Magic on them, and they're very much immune to Ice Magic. You're an Ice Elemental monster. So if you encounter them and you want Blizzard Magic, and especially Cure Magic, you can go ahead and do that. And one thing about the draw command is you can use the monster's own magic against them. So if they have Cure Magic, you can use their Cure Magic to heal yourself, but the downside is the draw magic tends to be, drawing the magic and use it tends to be a lot weaker in comparison to your normal spell pool. So if you want to get the full benefit of Cure Magic, you want to use your own magic, which requires you to have your magic command. But like I said, I tend to not worry about that in the early game, because Guardian Forces and attacks tend to be more than enough to take out a lot of the early enemies. And we're going to go into the forest, and you want to save before you start wandering around this forest, because there's a very, very powerful enemy. It's basically a T-Rex enemy that you can encounter that you're not going to be very very well prepared for. What I'm doing is I'm trying to find a enemy called the Caterpillar. And this one happens to have 2 bite bugs with it. And these caterpillars, I'm just going to call them caterpillars, they have thunder magic and cure magic on them. So it's very nice to have thunder magic because some of the enemies in the early game, specifically the mission levels, tend to have robot enemies. And robot enemies, machine enemies, are very weak to thunder magic. So having a lot of thunder magic in the early parts of the game equipped and in your pull tends to pay off dividends in the early game. And also, since it has cure magic, that's nice too, so you can stock up on that. But another thing that makes these enemies nice to hunt and try to kill to get the item is they tend to drop spider webs. And with spider webs, you can refine them into slow magic, but also you can use one of them on Priestess on your menu to learn Ultra Waves, which is a limit break for Priestess. And I'm going to demonstrate what a limit break is here, because when you get a character down to the yellow, they can unleash a very powerful attack. In Squall's case, he has one of the more broken limit breaks, where it's called Renzo Kuken, which is Japanese, I assume, for continuous sword. I remember it being called serial sword in a translation, but I looked on the Final Fantasy Wiki and it's a continuous sword. But it's a very powerful attack, especially when you get his later swords and they have a finishing blow on him. He has a finishing blow right now called Rough Divide, but it's not as powerful as some of the other ones we could have later in the game. But I'm going ahead and equip in some better magic onto the stats. As you see, if you equip a spell, the stats will go up or down depending on how powerful that spell is for that particular stat. And Quistis is going to explain Junction and magic. And as she explains, when you equip a magic, a particular stat will go up. So as you see there, your stats are really low. Some of them are in most of them are in single digits. The leftmost stats are the ones that are more important than the ones on the right. But Squall has a very busted ability right off the get-go. 2 abilities actually that has to do with his weapons. One, his weapon gives him perfect accuracy. He has a 255% accuracy. That means every attack is going to hit unless he's blind. And then the second thing is you have the ability to have Squall critical every single time if you're able to time your trigger presses when he strikes an enemy, as Quistis is going to explain in the second half of this tutorial. But if you, a lot of times when I equip magic, I just auto equip, because that's good enough for me, unless I need to equip a particular spell to get a defense going. But she's going to explain Squall's limit break and his ability to use his gun on his revolver and his sword, gun blade. So if you for my controller, it's the right bumper. Sorry, yeah, right bumper, not the right trigger. Where if you push it, as Squall attacks an enemy, he'll trigger a critical attack, and it'll boost the damage, of course. And then his limit break also has, as you saw, there was like a little bar on the bottom that it said trigger, and you push for me, it's the right bumper, and you maximize your damage for your limit break that way, and you maximize your attack damage of Squall that way. And that alone makes Squall a very broken character, because especially when you want to farm a later enemy that has almost a perfect evasion, Squall can hit them right away, and they yield a very large amount of AP. But this is our first mission of sorts. It's his entrance exam to being a seed. So you're going to go in the Fire Cavern, and you're going to challenge the Fire Elemental Guardian Force here, and you get a choice of 10, 20, 30, or 40 minutes. And choosing the time limit does not affect the score on your grading later on. But I find 10 minutes is more than enough time to get through here. More. Anything more than 10 minutes is overkill, but as I always say, you can't spell overkill without okay. So if you're new to Final Fantasy VIII and you need more time, you can always pick more. And Squall and Quistis are going to have a little bit of banter here. Some of it's a little bit fun, and some of it is Quistis hitting on her student. But I'll talk a little bit about the enemies here, but the majority of them, I'm just going to rush and kill them because I don't want to use up too much time. But these are red bats, and red bats are really weak. You can kill them with your physical attacks really easily. But they have thunder magic, they have scan magic, and then later levels they'll have drain magic. So you see there, Quistis just killed one bat, and she has a very weak physical attack. And Squall, of course, with the critical ability that you can do with your trigger, you can take these enemies out really quickly. And I'm just going to go through the menus really quickly. And then our next enemy we're going to be fighting is going to be a Buells? B-U-E-L-S, Buells? I don't know how to pronounce that, but I want to draw from that draw point there. And then we're going to fight right here. And Buells have fire, blizzard. Oh no, these are the bombs and red bats. My bad. So red bats, as you know, they're weak. And then as Quistis explains here, bombs have fire elemental magic, and then they also absorb it. So do not use any fire elemental magic. And use Shiva here. Shiva is going to just destroy all these enemies. Shiva makes bombs joke. But I will say it's about bombs in the later levels, higher levels that they gain. They have an ability where if you hit them, they enlarge. And if they enlarge 3 times, they blow themselves up, and it does a heck of a lot of damage if you don't have fire elemental defenses. And we're gonna go ahead and continue on, and I think we're gonna fight at a Buells. It's literally B-U-E-L-S. But this right here, and they're super weak. You can take them out Squall's attack alone, but they have all 3 principal elemental magics. That's Thunder, Blizzard, Ice. Thunder, Blizzard, Fire. Sorry. They go down really quickly. They have low HP. But one thing about bombs I forgot. When they get to the higher levels, they tend to have better fire magic. Even Meltdown, which is a spell I'll talk about when we need it a lot later in the game. But this right here, once you approach that area, the boss fight's going to start immediately. Take a little bit of time to have magic draw Guardian Force for one of your characters. And then whoever has a scan magic, if you do have scan magic, I recommend having that as well. The boss, who is Ifrit, who is a very, very, very common recurring character or summon in Final Fantasy games, is going to be our boss here. He has fire magic, cure magic, and I think scan for his magic. And that makes it pretty nice because if you don't want to have your magic and use it, he does have cure magic for you to draw from. But again, drawn magic does not cure as much as your normal magic that's in your pool. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by just curing Squall because he's already hitting 150s, I think 180s. But you want to keep your characters above 100 HP, I find. And then Shiva is going to do the absolute most damage out of all your attacks, but it takes a little time for Shiva to be summoned. That's what you see, that little bar there. And Guardian Force, I know it's a little bit late to be talking about. Guardian Forces have their own HP, and they can take attacks for your character's HP. But once they're out, once they lose all their HP, they're knocked out for the rest of the fight, and they're not going to be in the rest of the fight. So make sure you're aware of that. And when you hit Ifrit with Shiva, he makes a comment, "They have Shiva!" But it's a really easy fight. Ifrit only uses physical attacks and fire as magic. But what you want to do is you want to take out Ifrit with as little time on the clock as possible, preferably less than 7 seconds. But if you let the time limit drop to 0, you're going to get a game over. So make sure you know that. And when you use scan magic for the first time, you can stall that clock out for as long as you want until you hit, I think, the confirm button, and then it knocks you out of that. But otherwise, you can fight this battle however you want. Again, you don't need to maximize your score. That's only if you really want to, like to get the maximum seed rank that you can in the early game, but you don't have to. It's how you get money in this game, and money is not really important in Final Fantasy. As a matter of fact, I would say it's not very important at all, minus a few things in the early game, and after that you don't really need money. But Shiva, again, is going to be your go-to. Blizzard magic, if you have it in your magic pool, use it, you'll do a lot of damage. Attacks, you can do that to whittle down Ifrit, but Queese should be summoning Shiva or using Blizzard Magic. Squall should be focusing on either Blizzard Magic or physical attacks. And as you're doing damage to Ifrit and you really want to maximize your score, use Scan Magic every so often. The second time in Armor you use it, unless you change a thing in the options menu, it's something that'll only eat up about 10 or 15 seconds from the second cast onward, where the first cast you can use as much time as you want and even play with the models a little bit. But the second scan onward is going to just be showing you their HP, a few quick things, and then a little explanation about them, and then that's it. So make sure you kill as much time with the first scan if you want to maximize score, and that's it. Otherwise, just beat Ifrit. Normally, I don't even worry about getting my timer down as far as possible, because again, money is not that important. And even then, when you get it to a super high seed rank, it's hard to maintain it unless you actively try to maintain it. And again, money is not that important. But I want to go ahead in a few seconds. I'm going to jump cut to the very end of this fight. After that jump cut, I had whittled down, I think, Ifrit's HP enough to where Squall's attack can just take him out. I think I even do one scan before. No, I don't. So Squall's going to attack. He's going to be Ifrit. And then I'm going to be left with 11 seconds left on the clock. But less than 7 maximizes it, and then when we beat Ifrit, we get a lot of AP. We get 20 AP, we get Ifrit, and we also get Ifrit's card. We took his man card, if you will. No, I'm just joking. We took his Guardian Force card. With Ifrit, we get a new ability on his since we got Ifrit. He has Elemental Attack Junction, which Queese is explained here. And she's going to go even further and explain Elemental Defense Junction as well. When you have that ability on a Guardian Force that you have equipped, you can equip an element to your attack, and you can equip an element to your defense, assuming they have Elemental Defense Junction for the defense part. But we can equip magic on our attack right away, and equipping magic on your attack is a double-sided sword, quite literally, because on one hand, if you equip a magic and you hit an enemy that's weak to it, they'll take a lot more damage. If you equip a magic that they are immune to or even absorb, they'll either take no damage or you'll heal them, which is very bad. And in the case of defense, it's the same thing, but for you. If they hit you with a spell that you have a high defense on, you'll take very little damage or no damage, or in the case that the element has a green star on it, you'll absorb it and you'll gain HP. I don't think you actually get weaknesses for equip this. I don't think, off the top of my head, no, I don't think you do. It's either 0, resistance, or absorb. And the higher the percent with the green star, the more you absorb. If you get 100%, you absorb all the damage. If it's a very low percentage with the green star, you absorb very little of the damage. And if it's plain 100% without a star, you're completely immune to it. And then if it's without a green star and it has a certain percentage on it, you're a little bit resistant to it, or very highly resistant to it. And higher magics will increase the resistance, and certain magics will grant you resistance for a lot of the spells. I want to say Flare, Meteor, and Ultima, I believe, give you multiple elemental resistance, but those are super high level spells that you won't get to the mid to late game. But through the rest of this Fire Cavern, I'm just going to talk all the fights we've already seen. I'm just going to cut out, and so if you see a little bit of a very abrupt jump cut, that was me editing out a fight. But one thing I will say about this, the bombs, once you get the card ability, bombs make a very good enemy to card and turn an enemy into a card. And we'll talk more about that ability, but they are very good enemies to turn into cards. And they're also very good enemies to refine those cards and get very good magic from. But another thing is... oh, what was I going to say? Oh, darn. That's one of the things about these long videos. I've been realizing that I tend to lose track of my thoughts. But you can spend as much time now as you want. If you want to grind out spells or for whatever reason grind out some experience in the Fire Caverns, you can. But if you're going to grind out for AP, go back to the beaches and grind out those fishes there. I don't know how to pronounce their names. I don't want to butcher them. But you can go there and you can get 6 APs. And then you can gain your abilities really quickly that way. And I'm going to go ahead and just show this fight, because again, this is a new formation. I'm going to go and show new formations as they show up. But bite bugs, again, they're very weak enemies. They do have poison attacks on later levels, but they carry fire magic and scan magic. So go ahead and take them out, really easy. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grind out a little bit of the fishes here. And another thing about Squall's Occult's card ability is when you card an enemy and you turn the enemy into a card, you don't gain any experience, which is very nice if you want to farm AP but do not want to increase the level of your characters, because again, as you level up, the enemies will level up. And you would think that makes the game more fair in a way, but again, in the early game, you kind of want to avoid doing that, because some enemies will just straight, wreck your stuff, like just straight up. But most enemies are just a little bit more powerful, but some enemies will just straight wreck your stuff, and you don't want that. So we're going to go back to Balamb Garden, and then when you stay on the road, you do not encounter any enemies. But I'm going to save here one more time. I'm going to go into the forest. I didn't get my spider web, and I'm just going to go ahead and hunt around for a caterpillar. And this one is just a normal encounter with a caterpillar, I believe. I think it's just, yeah, because the one we fought earlier had 2 bite bugs. So I'm going to go show this one off, and I'm going to go ahead and have Priestess show off her limit break, which is laser eye. Actually, it's blue magic, but the one blue magic she has is just laser eye, which only hits one enemy, and it's powerful, but it only hits one enemy. That's what I don't like about it. Later on, the other ability, Ultra Waves, I tend to use that one more often when there's a group of enemies, because it hits all the enemies. I'd rather hit all the enemies than just one enemy. But we're going to hunt around for that caterpillar enemy. And again, if you run into the T-Rex enemy, which I'm not going to run to the T-Rex enemy, run away. You're not very prepared to take out. I mean, you could with some proper setup, but it's not going to be easy. And I just showed that enemy battle because we got the spider web. I'm going to go ahead and go back to Balamb Garden. Right before I enter it, I'm going to use it to give Priestess the Ultra Waves ability for her limit break. So now she has 2 limit breaks, and Priestess has a lot of limit breaks in this game. She has the most limit breaks in this game to choose from. So we'll talk more about her blue magic later, but we got back to Balamb Garden, and she's going to explain one more thing to us, which I believe is going to be the abilities of the Guardian Forces. And the abilities of the Guardian Forces, as you see me messing around with that a little bit, that's what the AP allocates towards. Is once you get enough AP, a Guardian Force will learn an ability. And in some cases, when you learn an ability, it'll branch off to another ability that, like an evolution of ability. So like in Squall's Occult's case, if you learn Card, you'll learn the next ability that he'll show on the menu is Card Mod, which is a very broken ability. And then he'll have Thunder Magic Refine, and once you learn Thunder Magic Refine, he'll have the ability to learn Metal Magic Refine. And in the case of Ifrit, you want to have him learn Strength plus 20% as early as possible, and then from there he'll learn, I think, Strength 40%, and then from Strength 40% he'll learn Strength Bonus. And Strength Bonus is Ifrit's prized ability in my opinion. Fire Magic's really good, and all of his elemental magic equips are really good, but Strength Bonus is by far his best ability in my opinion, because I like to raise my stats as much as possible in this game, and also Final Fantasy VI, but we're not playing that game. But if I have the ability to raise my character's stats permanently, I'm going to go ahead and do it, even if it inconveniences me by changing equips every battle or so. But And then also Guardian Forces, as you gain experience, they gain experience. Some Guardian Forces only require 500 experience to level up. The most powerful Guardian Force requires 1,000. And the more Guardian Forces you have equipped to your character, that's how many times the experience is divided up amongst your Guardian Forces for that character. So I don't really pay that much attention to it because, like I said, in the early game, I do use my Guardian Forces a lot, but in the mid game to late game, I barely use my Guardian Forces a lot. Some of them have really cool animations, like Bahamut, and I will go to my grave saying his name is Bahamut, not Bahamut. I hate that name. Anyways, I digress. And we're going to go ahead and save our game here, and we're going to do a little bit of card hunting. And our first victim is going to be that boy in the blue shirt that's running around. And he has a very good card, a mini Mog card, which is a level 8 card. And now we're going to talk about this amazing mini game that is the center of a lot of Final Fantasy memes with Squall. So, Triple Triad. The main point of the game is you want to take an opponent's card by putting a card that's adjacent to it with a higher number than what the card has on it. And once you fill up the board, the game will decide a winner based upon who has the most cards taken. So right now it's tied 5-5, but once I play this Ifrit, I'm going to get 6 points, and he's not going to take any of my cards. So it's 6-4, I win. I get to take those cards. I get the Mini Mog. Because Mini Mog's a very good early game card. And I find 80% of the card game battles you can win by just playing straight defense. Later on, you're going to want to play more offensively when you get a lot of the more exotic capture rules, like Same and Plus. I don't think I've ever seen. I think it's Same Wall. I think, but as soon as the magic gets in that draw point, I forgot to get in. And Sunya is very much like a cure-all for status elements, and we'll talk about status elements when I get hit by my first one. But I went back in that library to talk to the girl with the pigtails to try get another flag going. And then I'll talk about those flags in the next part, I think. But we're going to go ahead and start hunting around for cards. And even though I'm not showing it, I'm cutting out a lot of parts where I'm playing cards against people. And collecting high-powered cards, because I'm only going to show the card battles that have, you know, special unique cards, or it's important for the story, which there's not really many of those. Actually, I don't think there's any off the top of my head. But I'm thinking about Final Fantasy IX, my bad. But this guy in the very back right here, you want the guy I was talking about, the Treppy Groupie #1. He's the guy that I'm going to be farming a lot of cards from, and I've farmed already quite a bit, as you can see already. Well, yeah, I've farmed quite a bit already. So, from other characters, not him yet. So this is me playing the first time, and you want to play against him because he has Quistis' card, and he has a lot of level 5 cards like Iron Giants. I can't remember his name. Why not? Malboros and Elenos. Elenos are going to be the one I'm going to put higher priority on, because I need 30 of them to get Squall's ultimate weapon in the first disc of the game. Iron Giants are useful because they have 3 stars, and I think you need that for Selfie's weapon. And then Malboros, you need them for Quistis' Limit Break, and also you need them to gain for her weapon. So Limit Break and weapon for Quistis. And that's Quistis' card, and Quistis' card has high numbers on the vertical numbers. If it's an A, that's a 10. And so you want to try to take Quistis' card from the side if you can, but chances are you're not going to be able to, because if you do that, you're putting your cards at risk. And like I said, if you play defensively, typically you'll win like 90% of your card games in the early game. First 2 discs, I would say. 3rd disc is where you need to start saving before you play a set of cards. But we're already coming to the end of this part. Off screen, even though you saw me exit, I played about, I don't know, like probably 50 card games. And then one thing that makes those card games very bearable is the music. I love the music for Triple Triad. But we're getting to the end of it, and we're going to get into Squall's dormitory. We're going to save, and I'm going to catch you in the second part, folks. See ya. You have a good one. Bye.